Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Gibbs with Gambling News. I'm here today with Allan Petrilli, the VP of Sales and Growth for Intelitics, a company dedicated to real-time tracking and reporting for iGaming brands to help them increase acquisition and improve their market positions. Allan, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I want to get started. I'm always curious how people move around in the gaming space. You were, prior to joining Intelitics, you were the VP of Strategic Partnerships for Mundo Media, another gaming company. What attracted you to Intelitics?
So when I was at Mundo, Allan and the team at Intelitics were a client of ours, and there was a little bit of turmoil for Mundo Media at that time. So I was speaking to Alan Stone, and he asked me if I wanted to come over, and at the time head up some of the owned and operated traffic opportunities that they were building. And what really interested me is I knew that they were in the process of fine tuning the final pieces for their SaaS platform to have, to help improve user acquisition for operators. And I've, been in that game for a long time, and I had a chance to take a look at the product, and I was super excited by what they were trying to do. And it solved a lot of the problems that I was facing as an affiliate at the time that I knew was really going to help the industry. So it was kind of a no-brainer. At that time, I knew the team really well already. Like I said, they were clients of mine, had opportunities to meet them at conferences. They actually came up to Montreal, where I live, went out for a nice dinner. And, I think the fit was there culturally, loved what they were trying to do as a business, and just saw that I fit in really well kind of as a key piece to the puzzle, and haven't looked back ever since. So I think for me, it was a great decision, exciting company. And I say this to everyone, I think once you work in iGaming, you kind of never leave. It's an industry that, people, while they might jump around from company to company, it's very rare that we see people leave iGaming once they're in. And I think, you're seeing what's happening with the US market, and globally, there's so much opportunity that, super happy with my decision. And it's been an interesting ride so far with a lot more to come.
I bet I'm sure it has been interesting. You've certainly seen a lot over the past couple of years. Now, of course, data is king, the old adage. That's true now more than ever. And with Intelitics focusing on data for the iGaming industry, what sets your company's acquisition products apart from some of the others that are starting to pop up?
So I think, and I say this kind of all the time in the content we push out and a lot of conversations we have, is that when it comes to traffic and iGaming, and what we specifically do is we track user acquisition, whether it's affiliates, paid media, offline, any type of digital channels. We're starting to see quite a seismic shift go not away from your traditional big SEO affiliates, although they still dominate a lot of the game. That industry is consolidated quite a lot, and it's owned by 4 or 5 major companies. You're starting to see quite a large shift when it comes to how iGaming operators are acquiring users. And that shift is heading towards paid media for a few reasons. Number one, it's becoming more easy for these operators to buy on tier 1 ad platforms, whether it's Facebook, Google, Snap, or then you go from there to native and push platforms. So they're starting to spend a lot of money on paid media when a lot of the traditional tracking platforms in the space are geared more towards your traditional SEO type of traffic. So for us, what we specialize on is we allow iGaming operators to have one platform to truly track all of their user acquisition. And what that does for a company is it allows them to centralize all their data in one location, meaning that all the way from an affiliate manager or a paid media specialist, all the way up to CMO, CEO, they have one platform to log in, and they can see what did they do yesterday, what are they doing today, and what's working for them. And that's, we find it very important in this industry when brands are using 4 to 5 different platforms to track all of their user acquisition that they're doing. So what differentiates us is we give these operators tools not only to track and visualize what's going on, but also to optimize and increase ROI for them, which is very important. Again, what we've been seeing traditionally in this industry is advertisers will have a platform to track and compile data, and then they're taking this data outside of that platform. They're either putting it in instances of Tableau, or they're putting it into Excel documents, and they're running pivot tables and doing a whole bunch of calculations to determine where they're getting the best quality, where should they scale, where should they optimize, when that should all be done within a platform that doesn't require users to pull data out. So that's really where we're looking to achieve long-term, is to give iGaming operators one centralized platform for them to pull all their data in from their gaming operators, make decisions, optimize campaigns, and scale. And what that does is it saves a ton of time across your entire organization, specifically on the user acquisition side. It allows your ad ops teams to actually work on ad ops as opposed to pulling reports all day. And then what it also does is it should increase ROI quite significantly because you're able to make decisions quicker, as opposed to, traditionally in iGaming, you have a lot of operators waiting 1, 2, 3 months to see if players are profitable and then making decisions on campaigns. We're trying to get data in their hands a lot quicker for them to make decisions faster and be able to save money and increase traffic. So, a little bit of a long-winded answer, but that's really what we're looking to achieve is, we feel there hasn't been a product in market that has allowed users or that allowed operators to centralize all of their user acquisition. And we truly represent that. And I think we're the first instance of it.
And it's a very interesting concept, and you're absolutely right. I mean, you're also building efficiency, which is paramount to proper responses and operations of any company. So Intelitics is definitely on the right path and has already received a lot of recognition for what it's offering. It started to sign on new companies everywhere. And most recently, if I'm not mistaken, Intelitics signed up with Playstar in New Jersey, right? This just happened the last week, I believe. So this is hot off the press. Congratulations on that. How's that working out already?
It's great. I mean, we're early phases here. They're looking to launch Q1 2022, so we're kind of in that getting to know each other phase, starting the integration. We're incredibly excited about them as a company. First and foremost, I think we've said this in every press release or anyone we can speak to, they've built an incredible team there. And I think for us, we like aligning ourselves with not only good products, but smart people who are going to help us grow as a company. So for us, they all the way up from their co-founders down to the guys who are going to be managing their paid spend, all have track records of doing really cool things in the industry. And for us, that was really important. When it comes to just them as a client and how we position ourselves in the market, obviously we're a US-based company. We've screamed from the rooftops that we feel like the US market has been massively underserved when it comes to proper tracking. And that's not only from our competition, that's from, a lot of brands trying to do it in-house. And for us, we think that this signifies kind of the first relatively big client who's going to, trust us to help them win over a market that they're new to. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot of brands take a look at what we're doing once they see what Playstar is able to do. So we're really excited about it. We're excited for them to launch and continue to grow across the US. And I think you're going to see a lot more news coming out from us in some of our US partnerships. We've been working with a brand called Lucky. We should be launching a brand called Bet Rushmore shortly. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of us when it comes to US brands.
You mentioned about how a lot of operators in the US in particular were trying to do it all in-house. And I think that was primarily because they were forced to, right? I mean, there wasn't anyone out there like Intelitics that was able to offer a robust package of data analysis. And so many operators have been rushing to get involved because everything happened so quickly in the US. And now all of a sudden, it's the hotbed where everyone wants to be. They've got to get out there in front of the consumer as quickly as possible. So they only could use what was available. Intelitics has the ability to change that and give them, full recognition of their data instead of just the piecemeal solutions that were really the only ones that were available for most of the operators until now. And I think dealing with companies like Playstar, getting them launched in New Jersey with a full data solution is going to really set them apart, and of course set Intelitics apart as well. What's next? What's going on in the US market for Intelitics going forward?
Yeah, just to touch base on it, I think, look, when it comes to sports betting right now, it's a gold rush in terms of getting live in markets that go live, right? So at the end of the day, that is the biggest priority for every single sports book in the market is when a new state goes live, they need to get live as quickly as possible. And let's not kid ourselves, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of panic, it's a lot of shuffling and moving priorities around. And look, we've seen that, and that's part of the business. When it comes to what we are up to in the US market, we believe that there's a big segment of traffic opportunities in the US that don't necessarily touch iGaming at scale because of how brands have had their tracking set up. So, they don't have the ability to set pixels for traffic partners. They can't deliver data in real time. All these things that anyone who's buying paid media at any sort of scale needs to make sure that they run profitable campaigns and that they can scale their businesses. So I think us working with Playstar and a handful of other brands, these traffic sources are going to start looking and wanting to work with brands who have more robust tracking, and we believe that we provide that solution. So I think you're going to see us roll out across the US, quite aggressively over the next year. And I know we've concentrated on sports books and casino products. There's also all these tertiary products, these daily fantasy type skill games. You're seeing a lot of more socially casinos in the US. I think you're going to start seeing a lot of products pop up who don't necessarily, or who are not necessarily able to compete at scale with some of the bigger brands, but they can compete on profitability. And that's where a platform like ours comes in to be able to help them. And I think just in the overall industry in the US, like we've said, we've seen a gold rush. Some of the bigger brands are spending at insane scale right now. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more pressure for brands to be profitable as opposed to just driving scale. And right. I think, they need a platform like ours to be able to make sure that they're spending efficiently. And I think that's what you're going to see for us across the US market. And kind of, how it is when you're we've been in the iGaming space for 20 plus years, but when you're a startup from a technology perspective, it takes time to gain trust and gain scale. And I think you're going to see 2022 as a really big year for us.
I'm sure it will be. There's just so much movement going on, around the world right now. And like you mentioned, there's a real need for what Intelitics can offer. It's all been targeting acquisition in the US for the most part, and not about the long-term growth. All the money's been put into onboarding the clients and wrapping up operations, but not really focusing on what those operations are going to be able to offer over the long term. And when you're only looking at the short-term solutions, you have businesses have a tendency to miss out on what's coming, and they end up falling further behind. Intelitics can help them face those challenges and prepare for long-term growth. So having said that, where will Intelitics be in 5 years from now?
I think we're going to be the market leader when it comes to tracking. And I know we spent a lot of time talking about the US market, but if we look internationally, I think our goal is how do we own the US market, given that, again, we went through it, we're a US based company. We do a lot of work when it comes to even marketing services in the US market, and we feel like we could really help that market mature. But where is the massive scale for us? Obviously, internationally, and some of your new geos that are coming up, whether it's South America, whether it's Africa, whether it's Asia, I think you're going to start seeing us pop up globally. And we've already done that in terms of some partnerships that we've signed that are going to be announced in the next few weeks. So for us in 5 years, I have no doubt that we will be the market leader when it comes to tracking and reporting and BI in the iGaming industry. 5 years is a long time in this industry, and I think we have the product and the team to be able to get us there. And I think, like we said at the beginning of this session, I think once brands start seeing us more in operation, and when you start seeing traffic partners and affiliates use us more, I think we're going to start getting more trust, and we're going to start scaling a lot more quickly. So that's where I think we're going to be, and I'm super excited for the path to get there.
It's going to be very interesting to see how everything changes and evolves over the next several years. And a question that I always like to ask of everyone, just to get their personal opinion, not so much based on a business perspective, but where does Allan see the iGaming industry 5 years from now?
I think product is going to start becoming a lot more important. I think right now in a lot of new geos, so we talk about the US, it's a gold rush on how people can get live, and they're not necessarily focusing on product, or not everyone is. I think you see that internationally, and I think consumers are getting smarter, and I think consumers want products that are interesting for them and that are going to keep them around. So I think you're going to start seeing operators focusing a lot more on their actual product stacks and how they can make themselves unique and not sell the same product as their competition. I think that's going to be incredibly important moving forward. I think it would be crazy to not talk about blockchain or augmented reality or AI, et cetera, in the iGaming industry. I think it's we're such an interesting industry that all those kind of product and technologies can touch that no one's really done anything great with yet. and I think they will impact user experience specifically both in casino and sportsbook, but a lot in casino. So I do think there's going to be a pretty big shift when it comes to user experience within products. You're starting to see that in every other industry, and I think it's becoming more apparent in iGaming. So I think product's going to, like I said, is going to become a lot more important. And in some of the newer markets, profitability for brands is going to become a lot more important. So I think it's going to be an interesting 5 years. And I think we're going to start seeing the industry move along a lot quicker than we've seen it maybe over the last decade.
I believe you're right. Product improvement is going to be a huge, huge part of it moving forward. Allan, this has been a really good conversation. It's very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what Intelitics develops over the next couple of years and what new partnerships come out. You hinted that there are a couple that are going to be announced in the coming weeks. So we look forward to a wonderful December and a lot of good information coming out of Intelitics next month. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, not really. I think we touched in the beginning. It's exciting to see the industry starting to come back together in person. I myself, when this is posted, it'll be after, but heading out to SBC in New Jersey tomorrow to meet up with people I probably haven't seen in the better part of 2 years. So excited about that. And like I said, I couldn't imagine where the industry would have been 10 years ago when I joined. When I joined 10 years ago. And I think we're in for a crazy next 5 years. So I'm very excited about it.
I agree. And it's going to be an interesting ride for everyone for sure. Allan, thank you again for joining us. This has been a really wonderful conversation. Wish you the best. Good luck in New York at SBC. And we'll definitely have to touch base soon to see how those new partnerships are developing.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Take care.